total well-being for me means getting up every day and closing the gap between who I am and who that better person of me is. And doing it with zest and enthusiasm and having that energy to do it, which means focusing on the fundamentals. You can't have that zest and that energy if you're not focusing on sleeping, eating, solitude, connection, breathing, all of that, really simple stuff. But I think the other piece of well-being that's really important is being able to recognize when you're out of well-being. The quicker you can recognize when that happens and what steps you need to take, the better. Because again, it's a line that we cross very often where we start to, especially as achieving women, we start to push, work, do more. And the faster we can recognize, oh, I need to get back in balance a little bit here. What can I do? The better.
Well, hey guys, welcome to the 11th episode of the Story Project podcast. I am your host, Joanna Scott, and I'm so excited to finally introduce my friends from the Mint Door to you, Dr. Tindall and Laura Schwindt. Before I welcome them, let me tell you a little bit more just about who they are. Drs. Laura Schwindt and Tindall are retired dentists and life coaches. They share a passion for the total well-being of women dentists and their teams. Their collaboration created the Mint Door, a private members club for women doctors, which focuses on well-being, wisdom, and wonderful connections. They are the founders of the Stepping Stones Practice Wellness Program and love transforming dental teams. If you are fortunate to connect with Laura and Karen, you will likely find them with their CFOs. That's so cute, by the way. Chief Furry Officers, their dogs. Is it O'Malley? O'Malley and Rascal. Those are the cutest names. Welcome, Karen and Laura. Thank you so much for being here.
Oh, yeah. Thank you for having us. It's an honor to be here.
Yeah, we're super excited to chat with you today. So we've been looking forward to it all week.
Awesome. So have I. And one thing I'll mention to our audience, because you guys can see me, I've obviously had some ortho the past week and a half, and I was just telling my friends Karen and Laura that I am learning I'm basically retraining my tongue and my mouth how to speak and articulate words, especially if they begin with the letter S. So bear with me. It's much better than it was a week and a half ago, trust me. I'm making improvement. I always like to start these interviews with how we met. And the first time I met both of these awesome doctors was at the Past Due Retreat with Ann Duffy, with almost 100 other incredible women. I remember Laura and I, we were at a table at least once because they would rotate around, the room, which is pretty cool because you got to meet different people every speaker session. And you immediately put me at ease and we just hit it off. And then I got to actually know Karen better we were all recently at the National Mobile and Teledentistry Conference in Vegas, which is really awesome, with Sonia Dunbar and Melissa Turner. And we hung out at the cocktail reception and happy hour. And that was definitely a highlight of a trip for me, just connecting with both of you.
That night when we hung out was just so fun. It was just real conversation and a lot of laughter.
Yeah.
It was great.
Yeah. All right, ladies. Well, if you're up for it, I always like to do some light, fun questions like icebreaker to get us all warmed up before we jump into your story.
Awesome.
So tell me, and you guys can just, back and forth, but where do you work most frequently from your home? Because I know a lot of us are working a lot from home, running businesses. And so your office, like kitchen table, the backyard, your bed, what's your favorite spot?
Well, I'm a creature of habit based on the time of day. So I will put my hand up and say that I work in bed for about an hour and a half every morning when I first get up. I have to go, I make myself a cup of tea, bring it back to bed, and that's where I will do social media, emails, and just the simple things that don't take too much brain power. And then you will find me here in my office for the rest of the day. And if it's not humid outside on an afternoon, I may make it out there. But I normally get attacked by a wasp or a flying insect, and that brings me back in here pretty quick.
Because you're from, I just side note, you're from Arkansas.
Yes.
Yes. So they have it definitely has the humidity and bugs, correct?
Bugs and yeah, a lot of both. Yeah.
A girl's
Nightmare. Not good for your hair. It's not good for anything.
Yeah, she's messaged me a few times when she's been working on her deck with humongous spiders. I'm like, oh my gosh, get inside.
I'm absolutely not a fan of that at all.
No,
we lived in Oklahoma for a couple years, and so then you get the heat, and I think there were a lot of ants. I can't say though that I experienced a ton of massive spiders or bugs, because I absolutely would have remembered that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Those things stick with you.
So Arkansas must be a little unique when it comes to
It's just a lot of trees. Like there's so many trees, and I think that encourages all of the like interesting animals and bugs to come out of the trees onto the houses.
Laura, what's your preference when you're working from home?
So I recently, within the last couple of years, was able to get my own space for an office. And so I love spending my working time in my office. So most of the time you'll find me here. I do work a little bit on the couch in the living room in the morning before I get really going for the day. So a little bit on the couch in the morning, but then to the office. And if I'm outside, I am not working. That's kind of my rule. So yeah.
Remind us of where are you located?
I'm in Oregon, Central Oregon. So I can be outside and open the doors, and there's not humidity and there's not bugs. So that's kind of nice.
That's awesome. So are either of you, are you an early bird or are you a night owl?
I was a very good early bird, and I am not, and definitely not a night owl. But as I get older, I'm not so good at being the early bird anymore. I'm just like a slightly early bird, but I'm definitely a morning person.
Okay.
Yeah.
What about
I
you?
love to get up before the sun. That's my favorite, is to be awake when the sun is coming up, which in the summer gets a little tricky. So it doesn't always happen in the summer, but that I do. I'm definitely more early than late.
What time does the sun rise in Oregon?
It's early-ish now. It's like 5:30 or something. Yeah. So
yeah.
Well, good for you, Laura. You enjoy that sun.
how about you? Are you early or late?
I would typically be a night owl for sure if I could. But as you mentioned, as you get older, I mean, obviously routines and habits. I mean, it's not. We're up later because of our teenage kids. Because by the time they get to bed, we never go to bed before them. And then maybe, my husband and I want to watch one show together and just like decompress, So, but if I didn't have to get up in the morning, I probably would be less disciplined and stay up later for sure.
Yeah.
What's the latest, best TV series or movie that you've seen recently?
Oh, Laura, you start.
I'm going to say we just finished kind of binge watching Dairy Girls, and I absolutely loved it. The first couple episodes, I was like, what is this? And then it just hooked us. And so I absolutely loved it. I did need to use subtitles though.
Okay. Is it an English series, or was it?
So it's based on some high school students in 1990s Northern Ireland.
Oh,
So very thick accents.
okay.
It's adorable. I loved it.
That's awesome. I'll have to check that out. And I'm also a huge fan of subtitles, even if there are no accents. I just prefer like having them on. I don't know if that's just me, but I think I like, I don't know, like digest the information like faster, you know, or I don't know. If you don't have them on, you miss things that are happening.
Yeah. I'm with you on the subtitles. 100% of the time I have subtitles on. Because it gets rid of that problem when you turn to look at whoever's watching TV with you and say, what did they say? And they're like, I don't know. Like, how come neither of us knew what just like they said? So I think at the moment I love watching like dramas, but based on truth. And I finished off the one about Elizabeth Holmes and how she came up with Theranos and created a kind of company that didn't do what it said it was going to do, and that was with Amanda Seyfried, and that was so good. And then I'm just part way through Inventing Anna on Netflix, and I'm really liking that one too.
That's fantastic. I would agree. One other one you could check out is, it's called We Crashed, and it's based on the founder of the WeWork, multi-billion-dollar company, but that ended up kind of crashing. But anyways, they go through their whole story. It's feels like a Netflix series, but it's also like kind of documentary style. So it's super cool. Lastly, I heard a fun fact about both of you. Do you eat pineapple before you speak? And please tell us why.
We do. It is true. The rumor is true. This started off from back in last year when I was presenting at Dentistry's Got Talent. And Laura here is my guru of all healthy eating, nutrition, and food for your mood. And she shared with me about the magic of pineapple.
Yeah. So pineapple's super good for you for so many reasons, but especially before you're about to speak or maybe feeling nervous about something. Number one, it's full of water. So dry mouth, it helps lubricate your mouth with all that water. But number two, it's full of serotonin, which is a calming hormone. So it can calm your mood before something that you're nervous for. And then the third thing is it's high in vitamin C, which is super good for your immune system and helps get blood to your brain. So, usually when you're about to speak, you might be traveling, you might be a little sleep deprived, all of those things that can be hard on your immune system. So pineapple just kind of hits and checks a lot of boxes, and is usually pretty easy to get, prepared pineapple. I know that when we went to Vegas, we found some pineapple in a can. So that worked. It wasn't fresh, but that worked.
Desperate times.
Yes, exactly.
That's awesome. I love pineapple. I think it's one of the most fantastic fruits. I did not know though that it had serotonin in it. So that's really cool.
Yep. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Awesome. Well, I'm excited to jump into this conversation with both of you. Are you guys ready? We're going to have a lot of fun. I first want to hear the story of how you both met and kind of the story just behind you guys meeting, connecting, becoming friends.
You start, Karen.
Okay. We take it in turns of who tells the story. I love listening to Laura tell a story, and then she likes listening to me tell it. So it's a feel-good story. So back at the beginning of the pandemic, we were connected, both of us were connected to Anne Duffy. And Anne's name just keeps popping up in all the conversations that we have. She's just so fabulous, isn't she? And she said to both Laura and I, you two need to meet. So we jumped on a call and hit it off from that point. We were both, we both had a lot in common, but we also had a lot of differences as well. So, from my accent, you can tell I'm not native to Arkansas. I'm from England originally, and Laura being from the United States. So we had some really interesting differences, but a lot of common shared background too. So Laura, you can carry on.
Yeah, it was really fun because we had both recently moved a big distance with our family. obviously Karen from the UK to the United States. So hers was a much bigger distance than me, but I moved across the country. And we were both recently not practicing dentistry. So we had both kind of put that identity on the back shelf. And then our other thing was we had a passion for well-being, a passion for family, and a passion for the challenges of women doctors, and a desire to make their lives better from what we had learned. And so just the conversations that we had were just wonderful. And I looked forward every Zoom to getting to chat with Karen. And then the highlight was I was actually going to host a kind of mastermind in my town, but it was post-COVID and no one was really ready to jump into it. And so I canceled it, but Karen said, I'm going to come anyway. And so she came and we had kind of a fun working / vacation, and it just grew from there. So that's kind of the origin story. And we have Anne to thank for that very first introduction.
Amazing. So a lot of shared values and common interests and goals. What led to you, both of you, deciding to partner, in the Mint Door, and how did that happen?
Well, I think all of this shared like values and shared ideas and this shared passion for well-being was so central to a lot of our conversations. And I think it just became clear to us that we wanted to do something together, because I think what Laura and I have, and we are so lucky, is that we are good friends first. And we always say we are friends first and business partners second. So we had this strong foundation. And if you could create like your perfect world where you got to work with your best friend every day, I mean, wow. So it kind of was like we were looking for what was it going to be? How were we going to work together? And it was through dinner one night and our love of honest, vulnerable, authentic, deep conversation, that it kind of, the idea showed itself to us.
Yeah. We were talking, we were actually with another dentist, Julie Kellogg, who lives in Walla Walla, Washington. So she was down visiting Bend for something else, and we got together for dinner. And we started talking about our stomach issues, of all things.
Yeah, as women do.
What's that?
As women do.
Exactly. And so it was just so fun to know that you weren't alone, that somebody else had these similar issues. And then we each had like pieces of the puzzle that helped us. And like, oh, I could try that. Or, oh, that's a really good idea. And it was just so refreshing to be vulnerable and talk about the stress of our days and how that's affecting something as simple as digestion, which then can really lead to some interesting issues. So the next day, Karen and I went on a walk and we were just like, that was the best conversation last night. I mean, and there was more than digestive issues that we talked about, but it was just the best conversation. And this is what we miss when we were practicing. We missed this just deep, authentic conversation where you really just talked about what was going on. So that's why we're like, this is what women need. This is what they need.
Right. Wow, that's awesome. It's amazing how sometimes just, I mean, not downplaying the value of masterminds and things like that, but sometimes you can just jump into a Zoom room with, a small group of people, or even a one-on-one with another girlfriend that you highly trust. And it's amazing how you leave those conversations feeling uplifted, and sometimes it really leaving with actionable items, that you can share and swap. And I mean, so I'm a huge proponent of that. I love that so much. Tell us about the heart behind the Mint Door and how the program on the whole helps women doctors.
I think For both Laura and I, we have been extremely fortunate to have been in clinical dentistry and then had this opportunity to step away where we can look back. And we realized it didn't have to be the way it was. It doesn't have to be the way it was for any woman or dentist or practice owner in dentistry. It doesn't have to be as stressful. It doesn't have to be as, physically demanding. It doesn't have to be as tiring. And that's where like our true passion lies, that we know that we make a difference to women dentists and to dentist practice owners as well, that we can make it better. So that's where we started off, knowing that we can improve life for a lot of people. We don't have to struggle and just survive. You can actually thrive.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's sort of like that hindsight, is 2020. And when we look back and we think, oh, if I would have known that then, what changes would I made? What would I have done? And so just being able to share that with other women, and let them know that they're not alone, and that they're more than a doctor. There's so much more to them than that. That's a huge piece of it, yes, but they're a total human, a whole being with lots of different facets to them, and we need to look at all of it. So
before I jump into the next question, I want to know what each of your roles are in the mentor community, but tell our listeners and audience, and I probably should have led with this, but what is the mentor and how does the program function, just, kind of like high level?
The mentor is like our overall umbrella. And there are two main ways that you can work with the mentor. The first one is our private members club for women doctors, where we are providing a space where you can focus on its wisdom, well-being, and wonderful connections. And we do that we have a group coaching program, a 3-month group coaching program, which will help you focus on your total well-being, which is not only going to make a difference to you, it's going to make a difference to your family, it's going to make a difference to the people that work with you, but really focusing on the woman doctor in that, because that's who our members are. And we have an on-demand library of, we call them webisodes, which are short 25-minute videos made by and given to us by like industry experts, people who support women doctors in some way to help them with their well-being. We're not there to help you, your business is not going to make more money with our strategies, or we're not going to directly impact that. I think we will impact the bottom line on your business because we are creating you to be a happier, more healthy, all-round well-being human, but we're not focusing on business strategies. We're looking at the individual person. So we have panel discussions with experts. There's individual coaching as well. There's so much piled into the Mint Door as a membership group. And we're just so excited to be able to share this because we know this is benefiting women doctors.
What role do each of you play within? Because that is a lot. That's a lot that you're providing.
Yeah, I would say that we both are focused on all of it. So I'd say we play all the roles, but we are both involved in the coaching, in the curating of the webisodes, of the connecting, and of just making sure that we're bringing authentic, genuine conversation to the table, being there for the women to ask questions, bounce ideas off, or just have someone to listen to. Yeah. And so I would say we each have equal roles there. As far as the logistical pieces of it, we both have our strengths that we have in common, that we work really well with. And then we both have strengths that are different. And so we will divide up tasks that way. And so, yeah, it's kind of fun. We work together, we kind of knock out stuff together, and then we say, okay, what tasks do you want to take and go away with? What tasks do you, and that's how we kind of divide it up. So it works really well.
I've talked about my own journey with mental health and burnout, and I call myself a recovering workaholic. And I've talked about that on this podcast and others where I've been, a guest. And I would say education, community support, it can be a game changer to thriving, like you said, Karen, at this crazy thing we call life as women. Is anyone else, doing what the mentor community is doing or providing in the dental profession, or is the mentor really unique in that way?
So I think the mentor is super unique, that we haven't seen another thing like it, because the other part of what we do, which is also probably equally our passion, is that we have a practice wellness program, which is called the Stepping Stones Practice Wellness Program, where we go into practices, dental practices, and support the dentist to look after their well-being of their whole team. And this is utterly transformational in how teams who there's always a little bit of conflict within a team. There's maybe a bit of stress or a strain and how people get along. And we're just helping these teams work together more smoothly. We coach, there's one-to-one coaching for team members. There's group coaching of the individual teams. There's whole practice days. And again, this is something that is completely unique to the Mint Door and the results that it's producing, especially the bit about how we help that practice team. Wouldn't you say, Laura?
Yeah. I think that this is just critical and such an important topic right now is workplace culture. And in order to foster a good workplace culture, what better way than to show your team that you care about their total well-being? And when we work with these teams, they are so grateful. And they, we were just working with a team about a month ago, and somebody said, pinch me. Is this real?
No.
Is this real that we're doing this as a team? And, it's just better for everyone. It's better for the individual. It's better for the team. And it ends up translating to be better for the patients because they walk in and they feel that cohesive, harmonious energy. And it's like Karen said, it's not like every day is perfect. It's not like we're waving a magical wand and sprinkling fairy dust and there's going to be no problems. It's that the team energetically comes together and handles those problems with harmony.
Would you say after, you are finished working with a team, do they feel more connected?
100%.
Yeah. And the best bit is they don't want to let go of us, which we love, right? Because we love building relationships. And that for us is just the ultimate compliment when we work with a practice and at the end of their 3 months or 6 months, they're like, let's keep going. We don't want to let you go because how you're supporting us, that it almost feels like we become a little piece of that team.
Yeah.
We're just another resource for them to utilize and share things and just evolve with them. So that was one of my favorite things with being an actual practicing clinician, is that you built relationships with people over a long period of time. You didn't just see them and then they disappeared and you never saw them. They came back in 6 months and they came back in 6 months. And I think that's part of the beauty, is that we get to know the practices so well. And to get to go back again and do more things with them, and that just deepens the bond and the relationship and the potential of what we create.
That's amazing. I actually just spoke to our team on Monday and led our big team meeting, and we talked about how as teams grow, they become more complex, and the tendency for collaboration and cooperation decreases. When a team especially grows beyond 20 members, which is where we are. So, it was a conversation around how can we stay connected, you know, with one another, because winning teams are connected. Winning teams are collaborative and, you know, support one another, and they're curious and they exchange ideas and they help one another be successful. And so it's really fun when you know, like we started Studio 88, you know, 9 years ago, and you have like 3 employees, or, you know, it was like my husband is business partner and 1 designer, and to see it grow. I mean, there are definitely levels of complexity and things that we've had to navigate so that we can keep that connection, you know, with one another and keep moving forward and growing. So I love that you guys are doing that with practices. How absolutely critical and needed, especially with, you know, hiring shortages and everything just that's going on. There's so many just interesting dynamics that doctors are dealing with. One thing I love about the conversation of just total well-being is, you know, I want to kind of go back to that, is it's applicable to all women, regardless of your age and what season of life you're in. And there are so many things that I do now that I wish I knew would, you know, like, I wish I knew in my 20s what I know now. We all probably think that and say that, but, you know, just practices that I do every morning and some of my healthy habits that would have really, really helped decrease stress in my 20s. And so I kind of want to back up and just hear from both of you, because I'm personally very intrigued by, what does total well-being mean? What does that look like? And how do both of you define that?
That's a great question. I love it. I think total well-being for me means getting up every day and closing the gap between who I am and who that better person of me is. And doing it with zest and enthusiasm and having that energy to do it, which means focusing on the fundamentals. You know, you can't have that zest and that energy if you're not focusing on sleeping, eating, solitude, connection, breathing, all of that, really simple stuff. But I think the other piece of well-being that's really important is being able to recognize when you're out of well-being. The quicker you can recognize when that happens and what steps you need to take, the better. Because again, you know, it's a line that we cross very often, where we start to, especially as achieving women, we start to push, work, do more. And the faster we can recognize, oh, I need to get back in balance a little bit here. What can I do? The better. So that's my answer, I guess.
I think for me, when I think about total well-being, I look back at when I was practicing, doing ortho, what did I know at that point in time? And I knew that I thought if somebody had asked me then, are you looking after your well-being? I would have said yes. You know, I eat healthily, I exercise, I go to work, I look after my children, and all these other things. But I had no real awareness that there was so much more to it. It was very two-dimensional. As long as I eat well and I exercise, I'm good. And I hadn't even thought about the piece about how you look after yourself, how you fortify not only your body, but your mind to deal with the complexities that arrive day to day, or the huge mental load that you're carrying, being a woman and maybe having, family that depend on you, and you're also the manager of your house, and there are so many things. And I wish I had learned to meditate like way earlier in my life. And I only learned how to meditate once I finished work as a dentist, when I moved from England to the United States, because I couldn't work then. And that was like when my eyes were open to it, that there are so many pieces of total well-being that people in all walks of life, it's not just dentistry, are not aware of. That's our role, is to share all these different ways. It's not only focusing on one thing, it's all these tiny bits that can make the difference. And none of them have to be onerous or time consuming or difficult or expensive. Like, it can be things that you can do every single day. Even like if we're sat here right now, we could look after our own well-being by doing a breathing exercise, by doing a mindfulness thing for even 15 seconds before I got up to go and do something else, drinking water whilst I'm sat there. There's so much that goes into it. So for me, total well-being is just so many tiny pieces, and just learning the tricks and the tips, and what works for me might not work for Laura or work for you, and we might be different. But learning that there's a huge variety of things that you can do that contribute every single day.
Love that. We might have to fit in a breathing exercise a little bit later before I let you guys go.
Awesome.
Laura is the best at that. Like,
I
100%.
know. I've been in one of your your classes or courses before, and did one, and I was completely I was very present, and it was wonderful. Tell me, what is the total well-being on the whole of our female women dentists, here in the US? What would you say? What have you guys seen in the profession? Why is this such a relevant conversation and so critically important?
Yeah, I think that it's important because I think there's such a professional stoicism that we wear as women doctors, or women dental professionals, that we have it all together. We're doing it all, and we're doing it with a smile, and we're everything to everyone, and we've got it under control. And on the inside, it's a completely different story. And until we acknowledge that together, there's going to be problems. There's going to be an imbalance. There's going to be, we see the mental well-being piece of it. We see the emotional well-being piece of it, and then the physical well-being piece of it. So those things deteriorate as long as we're kind of putting on that mask every day. And, there are times for that mask, definitely. I'm not saying that, but acknowledging that there are times to take off the mask and get real too. And so I think that that's a really important piece of it. And that also too, success is your definition. There's a lot of pressure of what success means. And if you don't follow that path, you're not successful. And so success to me is an internal job, not external.
I don't know if I've ever heard anyone say there's a time to keep the mask on. Tell us, what do you mean by that?
Well, I think that there is a moment where we are helping other people, where we need to be there for them. And that is part of our talents. And so we are there for them. For instance, you have a patient in the chair. You're there for them. But the other piece of it is it's okay to let them know that maybe there's some stress in your life. I remember one of my favorite memories ever. I had a couple, the husband would always come in with his wife. They were just so sweet. And he would sit and read while she had her dental work done. And at the end of the appointment, he said, I sense something's up with you. And I was just like, oh, everything's great. Everything's great. Well, I had just returned from work after my husband had open heart surgery. And so I was a little distracted. And so he kind of kept pushing. And I finally said, okay, you're right. This is what's going on in my life. And he stopped and he said, do you have a minute before you need to go to your next patient? And I said, yeah. And he said, would it be all right if we all just held hands and I said a little prayer for you? And it was the most beautiful moment. And so, you know, I had my mask on and I was there for her as a patient. She had a great experience. And then I was able to take my mask off and have an amazing, beautiful connection as well. And that was like the first time that I realized that it was okay to show others your vulnerability. Like nothing bad happened. It was uncomfortable because it was new for me, but nothing bad happened. In fact, it just enhanced our relationship. So
that's beautiful. Wow. I kind of felt like I was there with you in that room. It was really just like, you're a good storyteller.
Oh, thanks.
It's that moment of realization, I think, and when that will happen to you, that it is okay to show people that you are not just the professional who is in there, you know, because I think pretty much in a professional role as a dentist, patients walk in, oh, hi, how are you? Oh, I'm good, thank you. You know, it's all, you are the expert, you are the person that they're looking to be in control, in charge. They want that person. They don't want you to be somebody who is obviously falling to pieces or stressing out or not in control. And I think it becomes something that is just bred into us as doctors or hygienists or whoever it is, that we have that face. And I don't think you even realize that you're doing it. Because when I was in America, I think I've been in America for 2 years, I was in a car accident. It wasn't super severe, but it was bad enough that somebody plowed into the back of my car at a yield. And I eventually got home and I was just tearful, like there was a reason, obviously, I'd been in a car accident, but even to myself, I'm like, what are you doing? Why are you just crying like this? And I rang my first friend here in America and told her what happened. And she was like, agreed with me, yeah, that wasn't a great thing and I'm sorry to have happened. But very quickly we'd moved on from my conversation to talk about her and what was going on in her day. And I was like, kind of weird, like it was about me and now it's not. So I rang my second friend in America and did the same thing again, shared what happened to me. They expressed their, regret that it had happened. And very quickly we were on to talking about them. And I thought, is this just American people like ready to just like not talk? It was nothing to do about nationality, and it was all to do about me. And I had done such a good job over the previous 2 years that I had known them, showing them that Karen was always in control. She could always sort out any issue. She was always capable. She could always overcome any difficulty. And probably even in that moment, I bet you I was underplaying what I was going through. So nobody could see that. And it was only when I rang my friend in England, who knows me probably very, very well, she's known me a long, long time, and shared that I really couldn't, like, this really was difficult. And I was like, okay, my English friend listened, but it was only through working with a coach that my coach was able to reflect upon me that maybe that I am just too good at putting up this front that I am capable. And that maybe I need to let my friends see that sometimes everything isn't okay with Karen. And that was a pivotal moment.
I'm so interested by this. I have a million thoughts, but one of them, I think when I see, I have a couple people in my life on occasion that tend to be very, they're dear friends, but they can be very fast, And so when we talk about something, maybe if I'm vulnerable and I share something, and then like you're saying happened in your experience, Karen, they just moved past it so quickly. There was hardly any moment for that connection, which if you're sharing something vulnerable, that's a big deal for a lot of people, and you're aching for that like that connection kind of gives you closure to what you're sharing in that conversation. And if you bypass that and you just are moving on at that pace, that can be, you kind of are left like, what just happened? Or, you know, feel disappointing. And I think sometimes I will point the finger and go, oh, they're just too busy, or they don't want to make the time. However, I'm not a dentist, and I do not have a dental background. However, I'm a driven, more of a high achiever type female, and I can relate with always keeping my mask on, even with my close friends. So then if I'm trying to take it off, it's probably very rare, and they're not even used to it. And they probably don't even know, you know, if I'm being really honest, like how to respond. If we conditioned everyone around us that we always have the mask on and we always know the answer, we always know what to do, we're always in charge, we're always in control, then that we're probably very hard to help.
Yeah.
Well, look at, in this little like virtual room that we're in now, 100% of women in this room have experienced this.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a lot.
Do men, you know, male doctors, men, you know, professionals, do they have it any different as far as, you know, the expectations for mask on in dentistry? Are the pressures more significant for women, or is it gender, you know, neutral? What do you both think?
I think the pressures of putting on the mask of being the professional in any industry that you're in are probably the same to start off with, until you start adding like little like defining details in, are the same. Because anybody who is doing a career where they are showing that they are the expert in what they're doing, and they're meeting people where their patients or their clients are, has to be that person. The difference, I think, between men and women comes into what the mental load people are carrying is, like away from the professional role that they carry. That's different. But in terms of a dentist being in a practice, putting on that face of the morning of like, one of the practices I worked in, it had a mirror upstairs before you came down in the morning, and then it said something like, smile, it's showtime. Like, come on, like off we go down these stairs and we smile. And like, that's the same for everybody, is putting on that show. Because, and it's not that it's insincere. The show is very sincere because you genuinely care and you genuinely are interested, and the sincerity isn't in doubt. It's just the cover for what is going on. I mean, how many times have you anybody been to work with a horrible cold and feeling unwell, and you know you shouldn't be there, and yet somebody comes in and asks you how you are? Oh, great, thank you. I feel definitely not great.
So true.
Yeah. I don't know. What do you think, Laura, about men and women?
Yeah, I think this is complex, and for sure. And so I don't think that there's a great blanket answer, but I do think that men bring more masculine energy. That's easy for them. That's kind of, you know, and this again is not all men, but they bring more masculine energy. And in an achievement world, that is rewarded. Whereas women tend to have more of that feminine energy, but that is not rewarded, and in fact is looked as a weakness. And I say that with men who want to bring that feminine energy or have that piece of them that they want to express is also looked as a weakness. And so I think it's challenging for both of us in different ways. And so it's easier for us as women, I think, to express those things but yet not celebrated as much. Maybe harder for men to express those, and definitely looked down upon.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
And so I do think that we each have our unique challenges, and that it's not easy for either of us. But I do agree with Karen. I do feel like women take on more of the mental load. And that piece of it, I think, makes it a little more challenging for us in professional roles.
Wow. Is this what your coaching program is like? Because then secondly, do you invite professional, like women professionals who are not dentists? You can tell me later. Like, oh gosh, why do I meet these brilliant, life-changing women and then I'm not a dentist? Might be a little late for me to go to dental school and do all that just to get in your group, but
well, you're going through ortho right now, so you can get an honorary degree, I think.
okay.
And there are plenty of ways for non-dentists to still be involved in mint door things.
Yes.
It's just that one piece is the women doctors. But if you're a man or you're not a dentist, we run all workshops that are open to the public, like
Exactly.
anybody can join in. So yeah,
That's
you
so
are included. We are
Yes.
included.
Makes me
Yes.
happy. There's something called, I just was talking with a friend about this this week. What is today? Thursday? Last week? I don't know. Days go by fast. The kids are all entering school and I'm like, what is happening to our 24 hours that we supposedly have in a day? There's a book that I read, and I might have mentioned this to you on a call we had previously, but it's a book on burnout, and it's written by two sisters. And it's called The Secret to Unlocking the Stress Cycle. It's an incredible book. I believe their last name is Nagowski. Two sisters wrote it.
Yes, I've read it. It's good.
Isn't that good?
Yeah, really good.
So they identify this kind of problem that's very systemic among women, and they call it the human giver syndrome.
Mhm.
And I don't have my script in front of me, but it's so powerful when the way that they describe it. And it's basically, to sum it up, that women are, in our society on the whole, expected to, very similar to what you shared, Laura, to take care of everything with a smile on, looking pretty, happy, not needing anything 100% of the time. We are not allowed to be ugly, angry, upset, ambitious, or you know what I mean? Or the opposite of that. We are supposed to have that mask on 100% of the time. That is the most unhealthy cycle. And it's like a slow drip. It is literally, if we let it, it will kill us. Burnout will kill us. And I've experienced enough of it to know you don't immediately see all of the signs or symptoms of it. And then over time, it just kind of erodes and you begin experiencing like more bigger problems. So one thing I kind of wanted to know is, like, can you describe how you would help a woman who is dealing with human giver, syndrome, or she's stuck in that place where she's keeping her mask on 100% of the time, doesn't know when to take it off, and she's experiencing burnout and stress. What would you say, and what would some of those first steps for her be?
I think that when you're in that, it's almost an emergency situation. When you're in that level of burnout. And the first piece of that is how you think of yourself as a giver. It's beautiful to give. It's beautiful to nurture. It's beautiful to be that person. But what if you took those people that you're giving to and you said, you can have this present from me. It's not wrapped. It's kind of put together, kind of haphazardly. I didn't really give much thought to it. Or you can have this present from me that I really picked out just for you. I hand picked it. I cultivated it. I wrapped it beautifully. Which present would you rather have? And imagine what the person would say. Say it's your child. They'd want the beautiful one. Well, the only way you can give them that beautiful present is if you yourself is being taken care of. Because you don't have the time, you don't have the energy, you don't have the creative capacity when you're not taking care of yourself to create that beautiful present. You want to give. That's part of who you are. That's part of your nature. And that's okay. There's nothing wrong with it. It's beautiful. But if you want to give to the best ability of yourself, you can't do that if you're not taking care of yourself. So I guess it would start there. That, oh, wow, you're right. I am kind of giving half, quarter, a tiny bit of my capacity because I'm not fully me. And if you tell that to a high achiever who always wants to be the best,
We don't know
right?
those women.
Oh.
It's a shame all these podcast mics are so heavy or attached, because I think at that moment, Laura, you could have dropped it.
You could have. I know, they're massive Yetis. And
yeah, I've got the same one here that I'm like,
and you don't want to drop it because it might break it. So,
oh, I love that. That was really beautiful. I love that you both are just on a mission to help women doctors, achieve total well-being. I feel like I have a better understanding of what your vision is for each of these doctors and their practices. And actually I learned, I wasn't even aware that you guys went into practices and worked with your whole team. So that's really, truly incredible. I love what you both are doing. Do you have any final thoughts for all of our women, doctors that are listening right now?
I think for me, like when I said about like total well-being, is that just having an awareness of what you can do. Just find one thing today. It doesn't even have to take more than 30 seconds, but one thing that will make a difference to how you feel today. And it could be as simple as just stepping outside the door and just getting a breath of fresh air for 30 seconds. It could be putting your favorite song on the radio in the car as you're driving home. It could be just stretching your neck after a patient that you've been sat still for a long time. But find one thing for today to do that will make you feel better. And then you build on that.
That's awesome. Mine would be, I think, we talk a lot about boundaries, but I think the most important boundaries are the boundaries with yourself. So how can you enforce your own boundaries? How can you say, I do need this non-tech break for 5 minutes. I do need this nap. I do need this connection with this close friend of mine that lights up my heart. How can you be more consistent and enforce your own personal boundaries?
Wow. Well, thank you. I feel like I have, I could talk to both of you for hours, and I'm just excited to have you in my life, honestly, and just to stay connected for the indefinite future. I think you both are extraordinary for what you're doing for dentistry on the whole. And thank you for that. Thank you for just taking the time to share your story and your heart for this beautiful profession and for all of our lovely lady doctors. Yeah, you guys are awesome. So, well, that is a wrap on episode 11, everybody. please go and follow Dr. Karen Tindall, Dr. Laura Schwindt. What is the best place to follow you guys on social media or interact with you all?
We both have individual Instagram accounts, but we also have the Mint Door Club Instagram account. So you can follow us that way. We have a Facebook group for women dental professionals. So that's for any dental professional that as a woman, and that's the Mint Door. And then we have a website, themintdoor.net, and that's where you can find out about all of our offerings, from the Practice Wellness Program to the Mint Door Membership Club to any upcoming workshops that we have. All of that is on there.
That's awesome. I think one of my biggest takeaways, I would just say one statement is, you're giving us permission to take care of ourselves. Like, we have the permission. We're allowed to figure out what total well-being means for each of us.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So thank you for listening, everybody. Thank you again, Dr. Karen Tindall and Laura Schwindt. You both are just incredible humans, and I just appreciate you so much.
Oh, we appreciate you. Thank you for all you do in the world and all the beauty you bring to every day. So you're right. We are going to be connected. You're stuck with us. Sorry.
I would love to be.
Yeah, we're sticky. And thank you for like providing this space to have these conversations.
Yes.
It's amazing. So thank you.
Yeah.
Well, as long as I can just add some connection, I think that when people see other people connecting and having authentic, conversations, it's a game changer. It truly is.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it helps make our world feel a little bit smaller and manageable, and that we're not alone and we're not isolated, and there's community for all of us out there. So
yeah, awesome.
Well, it would mean the world to me, Story Project Podcast Tribe, if you subscribe to this podcast and even left a review. I love you all. I appreciate you just for, for all your support and for listening to these episodes. I know I do one a month, and I'm excited that I do one a month, because I think that, I intentionally, there are so many incredible dentists that have been on this podcast. I mean, it kind of blows me away every time, the conversations that we're able to have. So here's to next time, and let's be fearless this week together. Thank you, guys.